trading card collectors. Welcome to another edition of WTCtv. I am here today with, former Division I NCAA All-American, multi-time tag team champion. God, you've been wrestling for what, 25 years? Pro wrestling?
It's close to 25 with pro wrestling and amateur. I mean, I still wrestle in the high school room and with the amateur kids. So that's been going on probably about 35 years. So.
And one half of the world's greatest tag team, Mr. Charlie Haas. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. And I'm excited about this because this is, like I was telling you, I don't have a vast knowledge in trading cards, but I don't know. I do have some of my old ones, and I'm excited about the podcast because I always want to educate myself.
Yeah. So it's you have some of your cards. So I mean, you're a grown boy. I mean, did you collect cards as a kid at all?
So my brother did. I had an uncle that was really big into it. When we'd always go down to visit his house, or visit him down at his house, he'd have them everywhere, boxes full of Topps or Fleer. There was always the football or baseball. And, and we would always go through, and I remember with my cousins, we'd play we'd try to play what do you call, Texas Hold'em or something, or, five card stud, where I got three Nolan Ryan rookies, and I got two Ricky Henderson. I mean, it was just like, but he was collecting since I remember the thing I remember the most is that he would collect the baseball cards that have the bubble gum stuck to the back of it.
Of course.
And then and my grandparents would just have jars full of that bubble gum. So for years.
I was in my storage unit doing a live Instagram where people were trying to buy stuff out of my storage, and I found a pack of gum from 1999. And someone dared me, like, I'll buy those packs if you eat the gum. And so I chewed the gum. Oh, it was horrible. It was so bad. It was bad.
It doesn't matter if it was fresh or not. It still was stale.
It was still bad. It crushed your teeth like that. So did you have favorite teams, favorite players yourself at all that you ever collected?
Well, so, this is going to show my age, but I like to collect the Astros back when it was like Nolan Ryan was there.
I just have some behind me right now.
Yeah, or Scott, he would throw the knuckleball, or Cesar Cedeno, or Hart Howe, or Jose Cruz Senior, Watson. That was my team back then.
Didn't you have didn't one of the Negros play for you, like a field Negro, or
the knuckleballer? Yeah,
that's right.
That's right.
So did you collect as a kid? When did you stop collecting cards?
Yeah, it was weird. It's like I started collecting, but then I got in this thing called Star Wars figures. So I started collecting those, and those are what I really concentrated on. So I really, man, I was all into the Star Wars figures, collecting them, and even collecting the superheroes that came out, like little 8-inch with it would had Thor, or Batman and Robin, or Hulk Hogan.
Oh, you go across the spectrum. You're DC and Marvel.
Well, back then it was weird is that it was DC and Marvel, but it was the same company making both of them.
Oh,
so it was like Batman and Robin, then you had Spider-Man, you had Thor, you had Hulk, and it was like they were the same company. And they really didn't even, I wasn't into the comic books. I was just into the collecting those action figures.
Oh, so you never did comics?
No, I never did comics. I never did.
Oh, figures are still good. I mean, Star Wars is a great brand. I mean, some of that stuff goes for a good mint.
I mean, and I'm talking about, this is before the internet, so I was ordering everything out of Sears Roebuck.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I couldn't wait for that catalog to come. So, I mean, I was like, man, I need to get the Hoth Planet system. That had the R2D2 with the antenna that came out, So I was looking, and then I would cut the coins or the wafers or whatever, the cardboard out and try to get so I can get so I can get Darth Vader with his helmet that would come off. And then
I think I remember I had a lot of Star Wars figures as a kid too. I remember having a Death Star. You can go and had like a tractor beam area where you can go around, and it had a bridge that go back and forth and retract.
Right. Then it had you go into the pit with it was styrofoam.
Yes.
And then it had it would make the walls come in, and there was the monster in there.
Yeah,
too.
you can crank it and make the walls come in. It's like that. I remember that. Yeah, I love that thing. It was great.
I mean, the land speeders and and the thing is, I still have all those, and I have all the weapons too. Like
you still have all those?
I still have all those stars. Yeah. Now they're not in the package, so unfortunately, but yeah, I have them all. I have the lightsabers that would come up and they would actually extend and go back in. Yeah, I have all of those.
I remember going over to when I lived in California. I used to work with RVD a lot, and I used to go over to his house, and he would go through his collectible stuff, and he had all these Star Wars figures in there, and he had modified them because like the little lightsaber would break off, so he had a toothpick going in, and he colored the toothpick, or he had like it was just weird how he modified everything.
Yeah.
And he had the cape around Obi-Wan, like it was like tape, and he tried to color the tape to match the cape.
No, I mean, you would always try to take those on and off. And you'd rip the underarms. You had to really, yeah.
Yeah, because you tear them apart. It's like that. It was great.
And I remember the Boba Fett that had before they shut it down, but it would shoot the red bullet out.
Oh, I don't remember that one.
Yeah, they stopped doing it because a kid swallowed the bullet or something. Like that.
It's always some kid swallowing something that's going to ruin it for everybody.
But yeah, he would shoot. It would shoot. You would press a button, and would shoot that red bullet off that he had, the backpack.
So did you ever, as a kid, even know? Let's go in the 80s now. Did you even know that wrestling cards existed?
No, I did not. But I did have my first the wrestling action figures, the Hulk Hogan, like the ones where they couldn't move, but it was the Sheik, and it was the Sheik, it was Nikolai Volkov, Hulk Hogan, it was
We're talking the old LJN figures?
Yeah, it was all them, and then they had the ring, and I would always try to find the ring, but they didn't have it. But yeah, it was Macho Man, yeah, all that.
Was that probably stuff when you were a kid?
What's that?
When you were a kid, you had those things?
Yeah, so that was like 6th, 7th grade. Yeah.
Do you think maybe did those things kind of inspire you to want to be a wrestler or no?
No, I wanted to be a wrestler even before that. When I turned on, we were living in Virginia, and I was really big into soccer at the time. And man, I saw Jimmy Fly Super Snuka refuse the help or the managerial service of Lou Albano. So Lou Albano and Ray the Crippler Stevens beat Snuka down with his own beads off his head and bloody everywhere. And then they threw him out on the crowd, out onto the cement. And they pile drove him twice on the cement. And of course, he's doing the electric shock with his, and everywhere. The X is coming up. Please do not let your children see this at home. I mean, dude, I was hooked. I was hooked. Then the next week, he was in a neck cast, and he couldn't do anything. But he asked,
"Got to sell it."
Yeah, I mean, he sold it and everything. And then he asked, what's his name? Not Playboy. Who was the? Buddy Rogers.
Playboy Buddy Rose, or
not Playboy Buddy Rose? Playboy Buddy. I want to say it was Playboy Buddy Rogers.
Okay. To
be his manager from here on out. After that, and it turned Snuka good, and and he didn't want to be with the Wild Band anymore. So it was unbelievable, man. It was really, yeah.
So that's what got you hooked on wrestling.
That got me hooked on it. And then after that, I cable just started taking off. And dude, I started watching at 6:05 to 8:05 on WTBS. It was Gordon Soley, and it was world class, yep. Not world class championship wrestling, world class, world championship wrestling, or
gotcha.
Georgia championship wrestling, but it was the NWA sponsor. And
gotcha.
and then we moved out of Virginia. My dad was with the government; he was in the Secret Service, so we moved out of Virginia when we got stationed in Oklahoma City. And when we were there, I mean, I was right in the perfect time because I was able to pick up. So at 9:05 in the morning, I'd get Georgia championship wrestling. And then at 11 o'clock, it was WWF. And then 12 o'clock, Mid-South Wrestling would come on. And then 6:05 to 8:05, it was WTBS, Gordon Soley. And then at midnight was World Class Championship Wrestling with Von Erichs. So I was like, right, I got that went on for like 5 years. So I got every type of wrestling, and I would go to all of it. But I was a big collector of wrestling magazines. That's when I started getting.
So you collected magazines then too?
Like all the magazines, man, because we didn't have you didn't have the internet, so I would see who's the champion here, who's the champion, and and now that I met these wrestlers that were my icons, and and the stories and why it was so important to them, like why they refused to do the job here because they were making more money in Japan. Because if the fans saw that they lost in the magazine, then they wouldn't make the money they wanted in Japan. Like that was,
What years are we talking about here?
I'm talking about from, let's say, man, like, let's see, 80, 83 all the way up to probably right around 88, 89, right when I was
you're in the wrestling magazines then. You know, they actually put trading cards in some of those wrestling magazines back then too.
I do that, and I also saw not wrestling trading cards, but I used to collect or would cut out the trading cards on the backs of Kellogg's box of breakfast cereals too. Yeah.
So you were a collector. I mean,
I collected. I just didn't keep up to date like I did with the Star Wars figures and the wrestling magazines. I wish I would have with the cards. I wish I did.
So you move on, you start taking wrestling, you become a wrestler. You do the amateur wrestling, you go through NCAA, you're a All-American.
Yeah. And then, as soon as I got done with that, I started training at I went out to when I just graduated, I finished my college up at Seton Hall, and I went out to House of Hardcore. Taz had House of Hardcore out in Long Island, and they were like, it's $3,500 down and to wrestle. I'm like, man, I don't have $3,500. I just came out of college. And I'm so I started bouncing. It was during the summer. I started bouncing down the Jersey Shore, and I ran into a couple of the indie guys at the time, which was like Ace Starling and Nova, and there was Reckless Youth and Blue Meanie, and they were they were doing they were bouncing. So they're like, hey, you should go to Iron Mike Sharp School in Asbury Park. And it was
Sharp. Love that
guy. Iron Mike Sharp, and that's who broke me in. So it was like $100 down, $20 a week. I'm like, well, I could do that. So that was perfect. So I spent me and my brother spent like 10 months down there with him. So and that's where we learned our trade really to start with. And I figured, you have a WWF guy that, that was from the old school WWF, and he wore the foreign, he wore the leather.
It's Canada's greatest athlete.
Yeah, Canada's greatest athlete. Exactly. And his dad and brother, I think still to this day hold the record for the most tag titles, like 19 titles or something like that.
Wow.
The Sharp brothers.
So you get in there. Do you remember when you got your first trading card of you?
That was in WWE. I remember when I got it. Yes. And then it was, I remember getting the first trading card. And I want to say it was, I know that we said this might've been an Italy one.
Those are, they're laminate cards like that out of Europe.
Yeah. Okay. So those are the first. I know when we went over there.
That's got to be like 03, 04 time frame around there.
Shelton we didn't debut as wrestling's greatest or world's greatest tag team at the time, but that's the first card I saw when I was over in Europe.
Okay, because you actually have cards that predate that.
All right. So
in total, you're probably featured on. If I did my homework correctly, you're featured on either as a solo or a tag team in some way, shape, or form on approximately about 100 different cards.
Okay.
And that's not even counting like what we call bootlegs or unofficial type stuff that guys, because technology these days allows us to make all kinds of stuff.
Right.
But I think even we were showing me earlier, you even have like a WWE Raw Deal card game or WWF Raw Deal.
Even that was probably, I think my mom and dad got those for me for Christmas. I'm like, so you're getting like I have this one with and the leapfrog.
Yep. Yeah. They call that. It's called an ultra rare card. It's a shiny foil, and they were randomly inserted in packs.
And this is the one where after Kurt just beat Chris Benoit, and we just were forming Team A, he goes, run out there and pick them up. It's like, run out and pick them up.
That's a common card. Yep.
Here's the Team Angle one.
Yep.
And
they made a whole set out of you guys, by the way, for World's Greatest Tag Team.
See, I did not know. So
there's a face card of you two guys. There's there's a lot of different cards in Raw Deal that feature you guys that are specific to your guys' characters and your ability to play that particular deck.
Okay, that is something I never knew. God, I would love to have that.
I can easily get that taken care of for you. My other business I had for a long time was a business called Vela Cards, and I specialized in WWE Raw Deal cards.
Okay. Yeah.
I have a whole website devoted to it.
God, I would love to fucking have that, man. And I'd like to get one for Shelton because I know he doesn't have any of them. He's a big toy collector when it comes to man, he loves the Thundercats, and he loves like the old the Japanese Transformers, going over and getting like the stuff that's worth a lot, and then he's a big Avenger fan too. So,
have you collected all of your? Obviously, you haven't. We just talked about, but all your trading cards. Is that all? You have a very limited number of your own trading cards, right?
Well, so I had this thing called a divorce. So, and so a lot of them, those were found at the bottom of the trash can by my kids. So, and thank God I had it still. They were in the plastic. So, but I have to go through my storage unit. That I think I was able to salvage a lot of them. You know, like the gold one.
Yeah. A
So
Danbury Mint one, I think it was.
I didn't
Yeah.
think I had Jackie, which I was a little bit kinder. Like, so I just got to I want to give her that back. You know, we're on good terms now, but I mean, at the time, you know, just I don't know. Even before the war, she was really down on wrestling. She didn't like the way it all ended and all that.
Sure.
And,
It seems to be a common theme of a lot of people I've talked to over the years.
right. So she just, you know, she wanted to cut everything off, everything, just get rid of everything. So, where I kept most of my stuff. I just got to go through the storage unit because I know I got a lot of stuff.
Well, we can definitely keep in touch, and you can let me know what is it you think you're missing, and I can definitely help you out and get you what you're missing.
Because I want to, you know, pass down to my kids, and you know,
Sure.
while they're getting started, you know, I want to get cards of them, you know, all that made.
Sure.
Because they just had their first pro wrestling match actually. Russ is 11 and Chuck's 9, so it's
Wow.
yeah, and it's on Hannibal TV, and I mean, I tell you, these kids work better than most of the people, and I'm not putting anyone down. I mean, they work. What took me about 5 to 6 years to figure out the timing and the speed for TV, they've got it mastered already. I mean, if you watch them work, you would, and I'll send you the video, and you'll go like, Charlie, they're that good. I go, I know.
Well, look who they're learning from.
Yeah, I said, oh, that, and I mean, it's amazing that they just grew up watching, you know, since they were time. They were, even when, you know, they didn't see me on WWE, but they would see me maybe on Ring of Honor, or they would see me a lot on the independents, and they just would sit and watch. The next thing I know, man, they're just, I hear this noise out in the ring, and I go out there, and I mean, they're just like, boom, 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 and I'm like, who taught you these guys? Who taught you these moves? Well, I don't know. We just saw them on TV. I mean, they're protecting each other. So I started teaching them the psychology and how to work the body parts and all that. So
Sure.
I got a project I'm working on, which we'll go into in a little bit. So
yeah. As far as the cards goes like that, I mean, how does that process go with you? I mean, do you remember when they would bring you cards to sign and things like that? Do they bring them to you at the actual arena? Do they mail them to you?
It was actually at the actual arena, and they did us. They were like, and they would, and man, and it was like they would give you sheets upon. I mean, so I guess maybe.
So some of those were done, like the one you were showing me earlier is on a sticker.
Yeah, I want to show you that.
Because I don't know if you actually have any on-card signature. That's a sticker, yeah.
Like this one. So this one, there was probably about, how would you say, like 10, like 100?
There's a sheet will have 30 to a sheet.
Okay, 30 to a sheet.
Yeah.
So it would
10
have,
row, yeah. Well, maybe 30. Yeah, 30 to a sheet.
was it 30? Was it 10 and 10, or is it?
Something like that. It might be 10. You might be right, but there's a lot.
I want to say there was 100 to a sheet, and we had to sign like 1,000.
Okay.
And they were like, and they're like, we'll give you $100 right now if you sign all of it.
$100.
How they would get you to do it. And some would be like, no, I'll do it for 200, you know, but they wanted them done. And I mean, you were like, I mean, it would just, and you couldn't smear because you said you had the silver,
yeah,
and that would smear, and you couldn't lay them on top of each other. So you'd have one person while you're signing it, while they're moving it, and then, you know, then the next one. I mean, what, you know, and I'm sitting there going, man, this is unbelievable. I'm signing a baseball, or not a baseball card, but a trading card. You know, this is great. I never thought I would have.
Is that your first official autograph card?
Yes, that is.
Yeah.
Because
is that Heritage 2?
That is authentic autograph, and it is
top Heritage.
Yeah, it's top WWE authentic autograph just received. Yeah, it is Heritage 2.
Yeah, Heritage 2.
Yeah. So yeah, they man, I mean, so I'm sitting there going, you know, and Sean's like, man, you know, Sean's like, take your time, man. We'll never have this again. But I mean, by the time your hand was just hurting for like the you know.
I know. I worked one time with there's another card company called Leaf. They put out some really incredible cards.
Yeah.
And they had I worked with Barry and Bill Demolition one time, and I had just sit there, and they're signing, and Barry looked at me and goes, I can't feel my arm anymore, Tony. It's so much. It's just so much.
I know. I remember you know, an Undertaker taught me something. He goes, you know, when you're signing something, sign really slow. And I'm like, why? He goes, because, well, he taught me two things. He said, don't ever sign anything while you're he goes, and he never does this, and like Orton's a big deal of this, and so is JBL. And I've tried to do this now that I do my heel persona. Don't ever sign anything while you are while you're wrestling, while your career is going on. ever. He goes, because there's going to come a time where they're going to want you to come to the Comic Cons.
Yep.
And if you've diluted,
Smart.
and he goes, if you signed everything and diluted your name and watered down, he goes, what are you going to go there for? He goes, that's why Sting can go for 25,000. That's why, he can ask for 100,000,
you know all the rates, dude. Look at you.
So, yeah. So that's why I tell my kids, I go, I mean, they're going to do these 8x10s for their first sign. They got a show October 30th, and people are starting to book them, and I'm do 8x10s, whatever. But then after that, I'm just like, don't sign anything, especially when you're younger, because as things translate,
or you can do. I was just telling this to their gentleman yesterday, I think it was. Or you can train them like what Will Smith did all these years. You can always tell a Will Smith autograph and when they got it based on his signature. He would do 10-year blocks of where he would sign things like Fresh Prince, and then he would go just like Prince, the next 10, or W. Smith. So he would sign those in those 10-year blocks or whatever it was, blocks. So you knew, hey, this is an old school autograph from Will Smith, because this is a really old autograph, because he doesn't sign like that no more.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I'll start doing that with them.
Or you can do what I was teaching RVD years ago, was you need to have 2 autographs. You never want to be a dick to the fans, obviously. So if you're going to go out there and someone's trying to meet you at the airport or at the restaurant, Rob would just sign RVD. That's the free one. But when someone pays you for your autograph, it was Rob Van Dam. That way, when you go on eBay and you see, oh, this is Charlie Haas, it's just like CH, or a C Haas, whatever like that, you knew that was a freebie one. But if someone paid for your autograph, they got your full signatures like that, and you knew you control your value.
All right, okay, that's good. And then so Undertaker told me that, and he goes, the next thing, he goes, when you do go to the Comic Cons, write really slow. I was like, why? He goes, because the slower you write, the longer the line. The longer the line, people want to be part of that, the more money you make.
That's right, because people attract other people.
Right. So he's like, I'm like, well, that's too. I never, and I would tell that to like football players, baseball players, and they're like, we've never heard that. I'm like, yeah. So
I tell it to a lot of clients of mine. It's like that. Like, that's insane. I never heard that.
when WrestleMania was at Dallas, like I want to say 5 years ago, 6 years ago, around like 2015, 2016, I think it was. I was signing. They had Shelton and I come in, and we were signing, and we were right next to the Steiner brothers, which I was excited because I've never met Rick. I knew Scott, and now we talked, and man, it was like, these are my heroes. They're amateur wrestlers. That's why I got into wrestling. And then, but my son, somebody's like, hey man, can we have your son sign autographs? So he had his 8x10s with all his. Russ just won the Tulsa Nationals, which is a big national tournament. So he had all these trophies of his wrestling, and he was like probably six years old at the time, So people were, the line was ridiculous for him. So I went over to see how I was doing, and he would be like, what's your name? He's like, Mike. He goes, all right. So he put he'd go, Mike, SIGNRUSS. He just put sign Russ. No, you don't put sign Russ. You just put Russ. So I got a couple of those that I maybe they'll be worth something down the road. I don't know. But he thought you had to put SIGNRUSS.
He was being very literal.
Yeah. So I was like, no, it's just Mike to Mike Russ.
So going back to your cards.
Yeah.
So you done the WWE thing, and then you went to Ring of Honor for a bit.
Yeah.
Did they ever decide, or I'm asking because this was actually a fan question wanted me to ask this. Did they ever any talk about, like, are you ever aware of marketing going on? Were they ever doing trading cards for Ring of Honor maybe, or that you ever knew of?
That I know of, they never did. I don't know. And I don't know.
They've Ring of Honor's only released officially. There's been Ring of Honor cards or oversized cards that were only available in certain DVDs, and there's like 6 cards in the whole set. That's it.
No, that we would. I remember getting the DVDs because they would always give us the DVD when it come out, and there would be some kind of pamphlet or some kind of like flyer in there. I don't think we were ever on them, but yeah, but there was never any marketing, and never action figures or video games or anything.
Oh, I produced my first trading card ever this year with Kevin Nash, and it was very, very well done. It's like that. We got to make one of you.
I'd love to. You know what I want more than anything? And I told everyone I would walk away if I can get a bobblehead. I've never had a Charlie Haas bobblehead. I wanted to have Shelton and Kurt. I thought we'd get 3 bobbleheads. But we never got.
Put them all in a box with all the bang heads each other.
Yeah,
Like that, yeah.
if I get a Charlie Haas bobblehead, I'd walk away from wrestling.
That's why they didn't make one. They didn't want you to walk away.
I know. I mean, I always wanted my own bobblehead. I'm like, that's the coolest thing, but I guess it's impossible. I don't know. People don't do those anymore, so I don't know.
So, I mean, are you officially not going to do any more cards at all, like that, or are you open to doing cards, trading cards?
I love to do cards. Oh my God, yeah. I just never, I would love to do cards like that.
Maybe get them for your kids and for your academies over there. And
yeah, I would love to, man. So like, with the with my kids, we have the Amateur Wrestling Academy. It's an amateur club, and I mean, it feeds into the high school, and our high school just won our 12th straight state title.
I just did an event with Kurt in San Antonio, and a lot of guys came up and we were talking about and he kept mentioning about the wrestling program in Texas has really picked up over the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah. And it really has. And the reason it's amazing is so we produced Bo Nickel. He went out to Penn State and he won 3 national titles for them. He won national titles. And he was 1 match away from making the Olympic team this year, but he just won his first MMA fight. So now he's fighting for a top team. And then and we just produced a kid named AJ Ferrari, who's at Oklahoma State. He was a freshman last year, true freshman. He won the national title as a true freshman. So since last year didn't count because of the COVID, he could be the next 5-time national champion. And that's never been done before. He could be one of the first 5-time national champions because last year it didn't count because of COVID. But they saw. So and what's great too is I would love to do is that now you can make your name off of. I mean, this is where Vince McMahon's so smart. You can make your name now. You can make money off your name and your likeness in NCAA in college now.
Yep.
This is the first year, so that's why he signed Gable Stevenson. And Gable Stevenson, he didn't try out for the world team. He won the Olympics and he was like, I'm done. Vince signed him to a multi-million-dollar deal.
Yeah, it's immediately.
Yeah, and he goes, no, you're going back to school. You're going to get your degree. And you're going to finish. You're going to win another national title for me. He goes, and while you're doing that, I'm going to. He goes, I'm going to flood the market with all your magazines, with bobbleheads, pictures, whatever, action figures. Because now, I mean, that's a whole different avenue that no one's ever even conquered yet. I mean, Vince is signing these amateur wrestlers. Like, there's a kid out of Duke that signed for I heard now I could be wrong with the price, but $5 million, $7 million. I mean, people are making money. Amateur wrestlers are making money now, being picked up. I mean, Gable Stevenson's I heard was a big time.
How is that different from doing college sports, like college football? You can't take money.
We're sports entertainment. We're not professional wrestling.
Well, but you're still in the amateur side of it.
No, but you're allowed. But remember, you're allowed to make money off your name and likeness.
Okay.
AA. So if Johnny, Johnny Manziel, Johnny Football back in the day, if he was playing football now, he can make a killing. Like if you win the Heisman Trophy, you can go out in the parking lot and start selling. Hey, you want to take a Polaroid with the Heisman Trophy, $50, $100 a person? I mean, you're allowed to.
That's awesome. It's about time, actually.
No, it's about time. So, but the thing is, Vince is smart because we were never considered professional athletes. Vince we're sports entertainers. That's why Vince doesn't. That's why we're 1099 when you wrestle for WWE.
Yeah.
So you're a sports entertainer. So we're not really a sport. We are professional entertainers. So you're allowed to. You can make money because even if you're an amateur, you can make money as a professional wrestler because we're sports entertainers. We're not. They've already exposed the business, said it's not real. So so that's the difference between doing that and playing for Alabama, then playing the next week playing for the Buffalo Bills.
Which is interesting because it's a nice segue here to go into because I want to talk about you have an upcoming podcast you're going to be debuting here. It's like that. And these are the kind of topics I think you're going to be covering, aren't you?
These are exactly. So our podcast is going to be called Wrestling's Greatest Podcast, but it's covering all aspects of wrestling. It's from youth to all the way to high school, what the top recruits who are looking at them, and then also interviewing the top high school coaches and what their success is and what their blueprint of always putting out state champions. And then also talking to the college coaches, what they look like, what they look for in a top recruit, what they look for, and how they keep their, like say, Kel Sanderson, how does he keep Penn State on the map? How do they keep producing? national champ after national champ. And how do they keep people wanting to go there, knowing that they may not ever make the lineup, and then also talking to Iowa or John Smith, I have a lot of the connections with those coaches because I was a top recruit coming out of high school, but then, through marriage, my brother-in-law, Rick Delegata, he runs like the New York Athletic Club, which is a prominent team that has put out the most Olympians this year, for the Olympic team. And so, and with USA Wrestling, so I'm able to go in there and talk to these coaches. And, I want to try to bring both the professional and wrestling and the amateur wrestling together, especially now that you got Gable Stevenson and all these other amateur wrestlers looking to go into that.
There's a lot of crossover appeal now, more than ever.
Right. And it's a chance for them to make money, and make serious money. And that's not only for men, that's for women too, because, when Title IX hit, it really hurt. And that was probably back like 1991. It hurt a lot of the men, so what Title IX was that you have to have the equal amount of scholarships for women as you do for men. Well, right off the bat, you have 83 scholarships in football for men. So colleges are like, we're not going to go out and put out 83 more scholarships for women. We'll just take away 83 scholarships. So like baseball, gymnastics, fencing, wrestling, those were the sports that got hurt the most. They would just cut the scholarships so that they would be an equal amount. So if you think about it, football makes all the money. So they would just take the 83 out and then make it equal from there and there and have football feed all the programs. It would have saved it, those sports. But now what's going on because of the resurgence the women's MMA with Ronda Rousey and, and all that.
Changed a lot. Did a lot.
A lot. So now women's wrestling is saving men's wrestling. We have over 1,300 scholarships for women's wrestling, but we don't have enough women to fill it yet. We have like 1,100 women. What's great about it is like Texas there's like 9 states that support women's wrestling that have state titles now and state championships, and Texas being one of them, New Jersey, and those are the two of Oklahoma. So Oklahoma, John Smith just announced that it's on the radar, and you're going to see women's wrestling in the next 2 years. Clemson just started a women's program, University of Clemson. So, now you're starting to see these prominent colleges put in women's wrestling, and which is great because, so my whole deal with women's wrestling, I think it's great because say you get, you get a girl that has larger stature that may like to play soccer, but she knows she can't be the striker or midfielder, and she'll never have a chance to make the starting team. But in wrestling, you have different weights, and you have different weights. So you will find a weight class where you'll be wrestling girls of your same stature. And it's one-on-one. So if you win a state title or you go on and get a scholarship, look at everything of it. You built this girl's self-esteem. You built this young lady, to be a prominent, spokesperson for the sport. Not only that, but someone that's going to be successful in life because she knows the hard work she put in, and she overcame, maybe bullying or cyberbullying or whatever. Sure. And now she's able to get her school paid for, and now maybe she'll probably be a CEO or a COO or so you just never know.
You're taking some really good life skills and life lessons there. Yeah.
And that's the thing is amateur wrestling, it puts you in uncomfortable positions, and it gives you the ability to learn how to get out of those uncomfortable positions. You can put, like you said, you can take that and add that to life skills, whether it's through divorce, death, taxes, whatever, but it'll teach you to survive. And
amazing.
That's what I think is great about, with the amateur wrestling, because now to go back into the pro wrestling, look what the women are doing in pro wrestling. They are,
exactly.
Some of them are better athletes than the guys. And they are, and rightfully so, they should be, so this is a great deal for women that want to be, that maybe they're like, well, what do I do after amateur wrestling? Well, if you don't want to go fight in MMA, then come into pro wrestling. There's a chance for you now. So I think it's a win-win for everybody.
You're kind of grooming them to kind of make that decision, the choice that they want to do. Yeah.
Right. So that's what I want to take these, and I want to take both of these worlds and bring them together. And no one's done it yet. And I think and that's what I'm looking to do. So that's what.
When's that supposed to debut, by the way?
October 30th is our first day, or it's going to be our first podcast, and we're going to have Red Dog, Rodney Mack, and Jazz.
Yeah.
I call them the true power couple inside and outside the ring. They're of course, everyone knows they're married, but they have their own promotion down there in San Antonio. They're doing a great job. They're really, Rodney and I go back 26 years, like really good friends, and Jazz and I. So I want to start it off with them. We're going to do it with them. And then the next week, I'm looking to bring in, I want to bring in the University of Minnesota coach, Brandon Agam, or I want to bring in Rick Delegata, who runs the New York Athletic Club. I want to get that going, one of those two. So
Nice. And is that going to be a weekly podcast or?
Yes, it'll be a weekly. So one week it'll be pro wrestling. The next week it'll be amateur wrestling. And so it'll definitely be a weekly podcast.
Where can people find that? I noticed I've been watching you on Twitter and Facebook, really promoting to get people to
Yes.
follow us. And I encourage everybody to follow those pages. I jumped on it right away.
Yeah. So I want to get, so what I'm doing is, we're trying, I've had my own social media following. So on Twitter, and I was trying to build up the light on the Facebook. I want to get up to about 2,000 before we launch it. But I also will piggyback off my Twitter, which has a lot there. So they got, I have two partners I got to thank for this, Aaron Presley, and I have Brent McKenzie. Aaron Presley's like the color guy for like SWE or the promotion I'm at now, or any of the, in Texas. He's like the voice of the Texas wrestling. And Brent McKenzie's he's a big time, he was an independent wrestler in Texas, but he's the tech guy. So what we're doing is he's got to do like a what's it called? A podcast, or no, we have the podcast by the Podbean that he puts it in. And I guess we're going to find it on iTunes. You'll be able to find it on all the different ones that I don't know of, but he's going to have that all ready to go before. So hopefully by the end of this week, by Friday, I could be able to tell that.
We're recording this on the 20th right now. And so it's like, you got 10 days. Yeah. 10 days. Yeah, where are you at right now? Because last I saw it was like 1,100, 1,200 followers.
Let's see. As of today, before we were at, I know before I look check, we're at 13.
Oh, great.
Yeah, a little over 1,300. My goal is to at least get to 1,500 by Friday, which I was thinking we can get to 1,400 maybe by tonight or by midnight, which it's already midnight here. But and then I want to say by 2,000 by next Friday.
That's good.
That's my goal. And then I'm going to be actually wrestling for Rodney and Jazz on the 30th. So we want to get that thing. We want to do that before we want to actually interview them while we're down there right before the show kicks off. So
I was going to ask you, are you still actively wrestling?
Yeah, I'm still actively wrestling. I walked away from it for a while. I got brought back in. I guess you never really retired. And
bring me
now
back
that my kids want to do it. So here's a project I'm working on. It's going to be called the Junior Wrestling Association, and it's going to be from kids from 10 to 15. And it's there's been a lot of kids that and I'm getting a lot of flack. Well, you're going to expose the business. Well, the business has already been exposed, but what I'm doing is I'm teaching kids how to be. And a lot of them are my amateur wrestlers that we're trying out for this too, that want to do this. So, but it can be any athlete, boy or girl. I'm going to teach them professional wrestling, but you're not allowed to wrestle outside the ring, nothing off the top rope. It's going to be more psychology, no spine busters or power bombs, anything like that, because I don't want any type of whiplash on their head. Mm-hmm. It's going to be mostly working, just how to work in front of a crowd, how to work, to work up the psychology, how to slow down, how to know the right speed. And the thing is, I've been blessed with my two sons are doing this, and they just had their first match October 15th, and it is like it's going viral. Their match. People were like, even Shelton and Kurt were like, Charlie, these kids are really, they're like workers, true workers. I'm like, I know. It's scary.
But look at their dad, man.
and their mom too. Their mom, did this too. But I mean, for them to know the timing and the speed, and like they're not in a rush. And I try to teach them. The first match they went over a bunch. The next match, I said we showed up and they didn't even know they were wrestling. You guys are wrestling. You guys are caught in the ring. They're like, what? And Russ understands that. So Russ called it to Chuck. And I said, look, the only thing you have to do is if you're caught in the ring, if you don't know what you're doing, just make sure your punches and your kicks look good. And because if you throw a really bad punch and the crowd's going to, they're going to be all over you.
They're going to turn on you real quick.
Yeah. And their match was probably better than the first one, and they called it on the ring. And I was like, I was really impressed. So, and people are like, well, why are you going to do this for young kids? I'm like, well, here's my whole argument. Why not start teaching them pro wrestling or aspects of it? And they'll be ring announcers and people, how to cut a promo. Like we're going to teach them.
There's a lot of facets that go into, I think people who watch it are just fans of it. And I haven't watched the product in years, but I still understand it, I think, in the sense that there's the psychology you said, there's a story being told, there's a certain way to convey feelings and emotions like that. And so it's just more than just hitting and kicking and punches like that.
Right.
And it's just and you can take a lot of lessons from that into other aspects of your life.
Right. So with the kids, I'm like, why not teach them if they want to do this? Because I mean, you don't just say, hey, I'm going to wake up and be a pro football player. I mean, you start them in Pee Wee,
Yep.
baseball, little league. I mean,
Yep.
you just say, hey, I'm going to go out and be a professional baseball pitcher. I mean, no, most of them, you train them over this. So why not? So you imagine if you took someone like, say, my son's age 10 right now, and you train them, and then all of a sudden by 18, hey man, I mean, you'd have the next Randy Orton or Kurt Angle. I mean, something that's just ridiculous,
I mean, he's got, he's already got 8, 9 years under his belt already of like just training, and now he's like ready.
Right. So I mean, and that's the thing is like, and when I'm getting ready to open up a wrestling school as well. That's I'm looking to shoot for the end of November, and
I'll be busy boy.
Yeah, but what I want to do with that, I want to specify mostly in tag team wrestling with that, because that's another art form that's being lost,
Big time.
And I want to really work on that, and then I'll work on with people want to be trained individually, like then I can polish them up or all that and help them get ready. But with the kids, I want to start my own. We're going to start the Junior Wrestling Association, and then and we're going to have and we're going to do it seasonal to where it's probably going to run through the summer, like June 1st to like August 31st, and we want to run it to where it's just that way the kids are kids all through the school year, and then we'll have practice throughout the year. But that way they're doing their football or wrestling or basketball or baseball. Sure. Then they have the pro league we'll do during the summer. So so I'm not looking to do it like you're mandatory 300 days out of the year.
Sure.
So I want, so I really put a lot of thought into it, how to protect the kids. All the coaches will be, they'll have concussion protocol training. They'll have, USA wrestling, certified, to be a coach. So there'll be a lot to go into it. So
it sounds like you got a lot going on, man. It's like, here's I'm thinking, I'm going to talk to Charlie Haas today. First off, never really got to talk to the guy, so this is awesome. Secondly, it's like, what has he been doing? So I do a little bit of homework on it's like that, and I don't find this information about you going on right now. It's like there's a lot of stuff you got going on.
Yeah, and the thing is like, this is a great time to be a pro wrestling fan. I mean, unfortunately, because of COVID-19, but look at, it taught us to cut the cord. So internet TV blew up. I never thought internet TV would be huge, or YouTube TV.
Yeah.
And now I go to Pluto and I can watch Ring of Honor. I can watch AAA. I can watch MLW. I can watch.
Are you consuming a lot of that content, a lot of that product?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a fan again. I mean, I love it. It's amazing. It's like, I'm like, this is stuff that I'm like, man, why not? I mean, why? It's amazing. And we
got to get you to be a card collector now.
I know.
It's a great time to be a wrestling fan right now. If you've been, whether you're an old school wrestling fan or new, it's a great time. And I mean, I still don't even watch. I don't even have regular TV. I have Netflix and Hulu, maybe, I think. But it's a good time.
Yeah, go to Pluto and type in Fight TV, and all the pro wrestling shows up.
Oh my God, my wife would kill me.
I know.
I'm just sitting there all day watching wrestling.
But it's amazing. But it's a good time to be a pro, and it's a good time to be an amateur wrestler, because these amateur wrestlers are in college and people worship, like Gable Stevenson, who won the Olympic gold at 21. Now he's $20-some-odd million deal with WWE. It's ridiculous.
I mean, it's I mean, I as a card collector, I didn't follow his career, but I as soon as I saw that this guy was in the Olympics and he had aspirations to be in WWE at some point, I'm like, I'm going to start collecting his cards just because. Who knows?
And I know Vince is flooding the market with them because, like I said, he'll do a split with them, and you're allowed to make money now off your likeness and your name. So, I mean, I'm sure there's going to be him in the University of Minnesota singlet, so, I mean, that's what I would look for before he goes to WWE, so.
Yeah. I mean, there's a guy, some artists have done some of their own homemade cards. They're beautiful looking cards of him. And I bought some of those. So anywhere I can find his cards, I'm definitely going to be buying them.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't collect all wrestling cards anymore like I used to. I'm a player collector now. So the only person I actually collect now is Kurt Angle cards.
Okay. Yeah.
And I started late. I mean, I still have my old collection. I just pluck out all the Kurt cards from everything. And then I'm going to start collecting that guy's as well too, Stevenson's. I'm going to start collecting that stuff.
I want to get into card collecting. That's what I really need to. And
it's a fun thing to do too, especially with your kids. And it would, just recording it and then collecting and then being able to kind of go through the history of. That's what the cards do. They bring you back to a history. There's a nostalgia feeling about it.
about getting cards made for them? Like, how do I do that?
We can talk off air. I know
Uh,
exactly how to do that.
Sounds good, man.
I
Would
can
love
easily,
to.
I can easily help you produce a card set. No problem.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's something we'll talk about there.
Technology has made it so easy these days. There's actually certain companies that do nothing but print trading cards for you.
Okay.
So
Let's
as long
talk.
as you come with a design and can format the artwork properly, it's like that. Then you can. It's really. We'll talk about it. Easy.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, because these kids in Russ and Chuck are really, yeah, they're excited about
Plus,
it.
it's a great way to. It's a very monetarily speaking, it's very cheap and affordable way to advertise any business you want to do. So a lot of independent companies now are really jumping into making trading cards for the last several years now, but become very popular because now you got AEW. It's like I never heard of MJF. I never heard of Darby Allin. Well, they were real popular on the independent scene. They have independent cards out there. Got to go find those cards. Are worth a lot of money now.
And if I, and that's another, I didn't mention AEW, and I apologize, but that, now you got two major players, WWE, then you have competition, and you're only as good as your competition.
Yeah.
And I think what Cody Rhodes is doing, first with the cons for coming in and buying into it, and with the Young Bucks, I mean, dude, it's you need competition. It's healthy.
It's healthy. It's always good. All the times we can remember back in wrestling history of the best times have always been about competition.
I mean, that's what when we go back to the wrestling magazines, I'd sit there and go, you have Hulk Hogan, in the top 10 underneath him, and then Ric Flair, and then World Wrestling Council, WWC, Carlos Colon, or AWA.
You're over here, you had Kerry Von Erich, or you had such and such over. I mean, you had different names in different territories. And
and that's the only way you found out about it. That's why I'm like, that was our Pluto. That was our internet, so.
Yeah, you and me both. You and me both. When I was a kid, same thing.
And a lot of guys back then, back in the 80s are, that would travel, like say Bruiser Brody, he was a big star, Stan Hansen, or, Bam Bam, Terry Gordy, when the Freebirds broke up, He was over Dr. Dusty Williams. They were big names in Japan. So they relied on the magazines. If they got beat over the United States and they got back to Japan, they couldn't get the money they wanted. They said that was a lot to do with, I'm just going, Bruiser Brody's, death, in Puerto Rico, because he didn't want to do the job there because the money he made more money in Japan, and if it got back that he lost, I mean, he couldn't make that money. That's I remember that going around at the time.
Crazy. That's actually crazy stuff. Yeah, but I mean, again, like you said, no internet, so you have magazines. You kind of rely on, even though it's old news, it's still news. That wait a second, last month you lost over here.
Right. But and the thing is, like, and that was one of the hard. I mean, I remember, a big fan. I remember Buzz Sawyer and Roddy Piper were in a huge battle for the U.S. title, and Piper lost 75% of his hearing. It was all in the magazines. And then the next week, he shows up on WWF with Piper's Pit, and he's fine. And I'm like, what the heck's going on? I'm like, hey, you just said, what do you mean? I mean, I had no idea. I didn't understand the concept.
That guy's got some good doctors.
Yeah, I believe it was real to me. Damn it!
It was real to me. Damn it! You ever meet that guy?
No, I have not. But I know Jim Cornette, and I got to shout out to him. He's like one of my mentors when I was down at OVW. But yeah, I mean, I know he was there when that happened. When that guy.
I wasn't there for that one. I met him at one of Greg Price's old guy. Greg Price used to run a convention out there in North Carolina called NWA Legends Baden Fest, whatever it was. And so it was like a who's who, man. You can get everybody, Ole Anderson and Demolition and Bruno and you can get all those guys' autographs there. It was just great. It was awesome. And I remember him being there all the time. So I remember that. I heard about you. That
was real to me. I mean, yeah. I mean, that was.
They even brought him on a Tosh.0 episode.
Yeah.
They brought him on there to recreate that. It's like that. They brought Ted DiBiase on, and I think Coco Beware. Yeah. Recreated that stuff. The guy became a little celebrity himself because of it. But
yeah, I mean, but he believed. So I mean, that we all did. That's so it was great.
Well, I'm excited about your podcast coming out. The interviews you got coming out, which is going to be different and unique, about having amateur and pro. Talking about different organizations and bringing people up, and it's like, I mean, it's just awesome.
Yeah, and like I said, like we're going to be doing a lot of with the amateur. We're going to be talking to a lot of the where a lot of the universities where women's wrestling is blowing up, and where they can look. And if women don't or girls don't know where to look at, we will help direct them in that route. Help them get those scholarships.
I think it's all for a good thing. I think it's all a good thing. I mean, the next generation is going to benefit from this big time.
I think so. I hope so, man. That's my goal, man. I just want to pay it forward.
Where can everybody find information about that? Where they can reach you for the podcast? How they can follow you? Everything.
So they can reach me at info@charliehaas54321.com. That's my email there. Or you can go to Real Charlie Haas on Instagram, or you can go to @CharlieHaas on Twitter, or you can go to Wrestling's Greatest Podcast, which is our Facebook page.
Will you have a website eventually built that will house all this stuff?
Yeah, the website right now is it's charliehaas54321.com. So, and that was before we decided to take on this project. So that's going to transfer over into Wrestling's Greatest Podcast.com. So
that will be the place that, like, the home base for everybody to get all the information.
Yeah, and then also on Twitter @the Haaspod. So the Haaspod. Yeah.
Cool.
So right there, and hopefully I'm trying to merge. I don't know if Twitter. I'm trying to merge Haaspod. It may just be @Charlie Haas. We may wake up and it's going to be the Haaspod. So
we don't even have an official name really yet.
Well, we have an official name, but it's just like I can't. I only have so many followers there, but I have over 70,000 followers on Charlie Haas. But you can't merge the two, so I'm like.
But I mean, you take advantage of the numbers you have from that place and stuff like that, and kind of just gear them over towards where you want them to go.
Right.
So I mean, that's where you're going to keep promoting there and promoting there and promoting there over and over.
Right. So, but that's what I'm doing. So
excellent, man. So we'll talk about making some trading cards possibly, but I really appreciate your time coming on, talking about cards, collectibles.
I'm
cool. I'm happy to have you on, man. I'm really stoked about it. But anybody else, like, comment on this episode, give us a subscribe, follow, all that good stuff, bitch, complain, whatever you want to do on this. I don't, just as long as you're consuming the content, you learn something from it, you got something new, you went off, you listened to a brand new podcast. That's what we're hoping for. So, but I really appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
All right. And with that, we'll say we're done.